Well, for years, we've been following the case of the 2007 killing of Anita Knutson in Minot. This Friday evening, Anita's death and the March trial will be the focus of a special 2-hour Dateline. Here's a preview.
The town is mostly quiet now, but you'll see them. These weather-worn pink ribbons, a faded photograph of a young woman, reminders of a mystery that spanned nearly 2 decades. Anita Knutson, a young college student, was found lying dead inside her apartment.
It's just something you never ever can prepare yourself for.
We've got to find the person responsible.
A case that shattered the predictable peace of this small community.
At that time, anybody and everybody is a suspect to me.
The pressure was on police to find some answers. And those who loved her were relentless, year after year.
Nobody ever forgot the murderer is still out there. We did everything we could think possible to keep her memory alive.
There were always things we thought we could do.
A story with a final chapter no one saw coming.
Now, that special will air at 8 p.m. Central Time. Now, we'll also have more stories on the case in the coming days, including how the community is working to keep Anita's memory alive.